Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sustainable Teaching Podcast. If you are looking for actionable steps that help make your job just a little bit more sustainable, affecting burnout, retention, and everything in between, of course, student success as well, you're in the right place.
Coffee on the counter, calendar in view, got a room full of futures and a plan that's tried and true. I've done the late nights, I felt the burnout. Now I choose what feeds me and still brings the best out. Sustainable teaching, I can lead and still be breathing. Strong and steady, I'm increasing. Sustainable teaching, that's in the rhythm of my freedom. This is how I start my day believing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the pod. My name is Rae Hughart, and I feel like we have an OG member here of the pod. I have known Mr. Billingsley for a very long time, and I'm so excited to feature you. Johnny, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Rae. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited. You know, this is a perfect example of me using the podcast for selfish reasons that I really just wanted to catch up with you. And I was like, hey, if I invite him on the pod, I'll get to hang out with him and see what's up. So I really appreciate you making the time.
Absolutely. It's great to talk with other educators, especially when they're looking at making the lives of teachers better. Even as an administrator, that is something that I've strived for in my daily life, is to make the lives of my teachers better, more attainable. We have difficult jobs, probably the most difficult jobs in the world. And we ask so much of our teachers that we really have to be mindful about, drawing some lines and making sure that we stay focused on keeping our heart and our heads right, because if not, then we get burned out, and no one wants that.
Oh my gosh, I'm just going to keep quoting Todd Whitaker that we just had on the pod a few weeks ago, that he said, the job's so hard because it matters every day. And it's very rare that you have a job that every single day matters, and it's so true about education. And whether you're a paraprofessional listening, a teacher, a leader, or anything in between, we're excited for you to be here and help make your day, a little bit more sustainable, make your job a little bit more enjoyable. And whether that be through setting boundaries, which is of course a great strategy, or just like minor little tweaks. On average, those members that are part of the Teachers Deserve It movement are saving up to 5 hours a week just by small, teeny tiny tweaks. I mean, geez, 5 hours, that's a lot of TV and, puppy time I could add to my list. What about you? What would you do with 5 hours a week if you could save 5 hours?
Oh my goodness. Definitely read more, because I love to read. And I would say I'd also spend a lot of time. I have 6 dogs. So spending time with 6 dogs would be great. Taking them for walks more often instead of just, my wife taking them on her own. So those would be, some things that I would love to do.
I would like to file a formal complaint that I follow you on social media. I feel like I like everything you post. And how did I not know you had 6 dogs? We're going to need more dog posts and in the future. If I could make that request formally on the pod.
Absolutely. We love to rescue dogs. So definitely I would love to gather and capture some time back. So
I love it.
I know I've started that process now, but it's something that I still am striving for, not only for myself, but also for my teachers as well.
Yeah, we're all working towards it, right? Every little bit helps. And just to give a quick shout out to those of you that are a part of the pod and listen every single week as we drop our episodes on Fridays, along with our blog. You know that my dogs frequently make an appearance, whether I like them to or not. They're currently sitting here very quiet and ready to enjoy the episode. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that they continue. Before we get too far in, Johnny, do you mind sharing who you are, what you do, in case somebody maybe isn't connected to you?
Absolutely. I've been an educator for 28 years now, and I was a middle school principal for 14 of those years. And just recently, I moved down to an assistant principal role, just to come back to a place that I know was an excellent place to educate children, which is Lamont District 113A. And I wanted to come back and work with Dr. Orzel and make sure that I hone my leadership skills with her. And I didn't mind taking, that step down. One, it is a lot less stressful being an assistant principal than principal. But two, it allowed me to go back to school at the same time to be able to get my EDS and work towards my superintendent endorsement.
Yeah, we originally connected in the middle school days when I was living, eating, and breathing all middle school stuff. I was with Ames, which I know is an Illinois program. And then you being a principal at the time, we bumped into each other a bunch. Now you've done so much. You've moved districts, you've helped, you've worked with so many different students and communities. Now you're back in Lamont, which I think is such a beautiful opportunity to celebrate networking, that you had this opportunity to make a shift. Yes, you changed job titles, but you did it because you had this strong network, you had goals that you wanted to achieve, and it was the right fit. I don't know that we give enough credit to that when we as educators kind of collectively look at our path, that's kind of what makes the job so wonderful, is being able to have some flexibility to possibly use our network to end up in the right place.
Absolutely. I think that you have to find the right fit. And then sometimes, you reach out and you think that, the grass might be greener somewhere else. And you need those experiences and you need to take those leaps sometimes. And sometimes those turn out the right way and you take off. And sometimes you learn and then you understand, what do I need for a better fit? Well, I need good systems. I need good people who have the same work ethic. I need people who are, invested in the children and making sure that they do everything they can to make them be successful. And then that's when you make those decisions. So coming back to SD 113A was an easy decision for me because I know that's what I was returning to. But it's quite different. You come back, 4 or 5 years later and the place is entirely different. It's grown so much.
Well, and that's a nice part. Any educator listening that maybe is looking to make an adjustment, maybe for, this coming school year, I think there is a reality in understanding your strengths. I know so many educators that are so skilled, and a fit for them would probably be the most opposite environment that would be the perfect fit for me. And it doesn't mean that either of us are bad educators or not committed to doing the good work, but people just have, it's not even just a preference. We have skills that fit best in different spaces. And every time you adjust or tweak your role, you learn more about what's a good fit so you can make, good decisions moving forward. So I love that as we continue to find where we fit best, we can, learn about those little pieces and act accordingly. That's so good.
Absolutely.
So
I think
with
that
your job,
that fit.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Ray.
Oh, I was going to say, with your job now, you moved out of the middle school. So how is teaching and working with the little ones in an AP role?
It's amazing. Every day you get to be with kids who are just excited to learn and they're really, they want to take in everything they can. The whole world is like brand new every single day for them. And they're excited to build their background knowledge. It's great that they come to school and they're looking for some connections. It really has been just mind blowing. Just today, I had a young girl give me a letter saying she wants to have lunch with me, and it would make her whole year if the assistant principal would just have lunch with her and her friends. I think she tricked me in there because then she added 3 friends when I said yes. But it's things like that that's not often experienced when you're a middle school principal. You put yourselves in those situations and then the kids kind of like accept you. But here they're seeking you out. They want you to be right next to them. They want you to be at recess with them. They want you to play catch with them. So you name it, you get to do all of those things and visit them in the classroom, and it just makes their day. It's entirely a different world. And I don't think I like one better than the other. Yeah. But I definitely think that it gives me a more global perspective on teachers. I have a huge respect for all of these elementary teachers that I haven't really had to encounter earlier in my career, but do everything. If there is something that really needs to change, is that elementary teachers need to be paid more money. because they wear hats that no high school and middle school teacher ever has to wear because they're teaching everything.
Yes, it's so true. We shout out to our elementary and pre-K. I mean, my teaching experience originally was middle school. Then I went to up into higher ed. And now, obviously, with my role now, we work PK through 12. And it is so different walking into a kindergarten classroom versus a sixth grade math classroom versus a senior in high school English classroom. It's so amazing how all these titles are all under the same umbrella as educators, as teachers, but gosh, do those jobs look different. And they look different not only based on where you are and what grade level and what subject, but also the community and everything in between. So, as much as so many of us might be thinking of a new job next year, it might be as simple as moving grade levels to experience something slightly different that you haven't experienced before.
Absolutely. I can tell you right now that in the last 2 years, I thought I knew a lot, but I've learned so much from my school psychologist because we're involved in the special education, identifications and the MTSS process, the reading interventionists, and how to teach the science of reading, things that I just never knew. And these educators are helping me be a better educator because they have taught me some things that I just never had experience with how do kids learn how to read? How do kids learn how to control, their own bodies and have control over their executive functioning? All of those things that, yes, are impactful in middle school, but I never got to experience when you first start seeing possible indicators of trouble there. And what could we do? And my psychologists and my reading interventionists and my special education teachers here at River Valley have just been the best because they're teaching me and I learn from them every day, which I love.
Yeah, I have to say, like, something I really enjoyed when I switched roles last year is I didn't realize how little I was learning. And when I moved into a role last year that I'm obviously continuing now, I am learning so much. Like every day there's something that I'm learning. And it really kind of sparked this new energy for me where I'm like, oh my God, I think like I knew I loved learning, but I didn't realize how much I wasn't learning until I got into a role where that became a real focus. And it is a different energy being around people that you're really curious to learn from. So that's a real celebration there about the new AP role that you're in. And we say new, but you've been in it for a while and I'm so glad you're enjoying it. But the other thing I want to highlight is going back for any sort of degree or certification is very common for educators to do to a point, right? They go to their master's. I find, and maybe I'm just talking about myself, but it's hard to make the decision, I feel like, to go beyond the master's. There's a lot more, for some reason, I'm experiencing myself, and I've talked to colleagues, more hesitation. Do you go for the doctorate? Do you go for, the superintendency license? Was that decision hard for you? I mean, going back to school, I feel like when you become a certain age, you're like, I don't want to go back to school.
Yeah. So, I had two graduate degrees. I had a curriculum and instruction graduate degree, and then I had my principal leadership graduate degree.
Right.
My last one was in 2006. I had not gone back to school from 2006 all the way to 2025. And it was so hard. I was like, what did I get myself into? I couldn't log into the class the first night. I'm like, I haven't done this in a while. I started panicking. Once I got through the first class, I was fine. But yeah, it was hard. And I do say that I think most people don't do what I did, where they take a step back to an AP role and then go for like a superintendent endorsement. Yeah. But it's been so beneficial because I haven't had to keep that same level of rigor that a principal has, and then being able to go back for classes. It's really been making it sustainable, like you would say. It's been huge.
Mm-hmm. I haven't heard that strategy either, but what I can say is that if anyone is considering going back for any sort of degree, certification, anything in between, finding the time to do that when you're already in a position that you feel like takes up all that you have is a much harder decision than when you move into a role where you feel like you have a little more flexibility and can give a little bit more. Then that degree or certification sounds more palpable. It makes total sense. I'm surprised it's not discussed more. It couldn't make more sense to me as we're talking about it here. But I would be just like you. I've, considered going back for a few different things. And, while I'm always learning, sitting in a classroom again in some sort of formal higher ed environment, especially after teaching higher ed classes and everything in between, I'm like, gosh, can I still do that? What if I'm really bad at it?
You pick it back up quicker than you think. That first day, I was like, oh, what did I do? But then after that, it's been great. I'm on my third class now. I'm in educational law, and it's going pretty smoothly.
That's amazing.
I will say.
Yeah. If anyone in the comments want to hear about when your last degree was, or if you're going back for anything, that I feel like sometimes that's like very talked about, and I really haven't heard too much recently. So if you're back in school or considering doing it, let us know. I know the GRE was always scary for me to take, so lots to discuss there. We are going to get into sharing some sustainable teaching practices, whether it's at a classroom level, paraprofessional, a leadership level. How do we keep this job sustainable? We'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by the Teachers Deserve It Blueprint, a done-for-you system for building a classroom that works without burnout. If you're tired of piecing it together on your own, this is your framework. See what's inside at teachersdeserveit.com. There are so many little tweaks we can make to help make our job more sustainable, whether it's how you organize your to-do list, how you welcome students into the classroom, or how you load your dishwasher. If we can save a few minutes here and there or save a little bit of stress, that is what we are all about. Johnny, when you think of, what has helped make your job more enjoyable, take stress off your plate, obviously there's a million things you've done. You've done this for so long that I'm sure you share commonly how to help others. What comes to mind, either because you've mentioned it recently or maybe you just wish more educators knew about it as a strategy?
One thing that I make sure that I do is Friday night is mine and all Saturday is mine. Those two have to be with my family or for myself. And I don't really let those get interfered with. So Friday night and Saturday, those are mine. And I try not to just do anything related to school on those times as a leader. I can't really do that on Sunday. I have to do a little work and legwork to get ready on Sunday. But I really keep to a pretty, standardized schedule, like what I do on each night, which helps me out. So I'm not doing too much at home. I try to get most everything done here at school. Now that I do not have night activities, I just stay a little bit later. School gets out at 3:30, and then I will stay to 5:30, just to get all my work done so that when I get home, I can have time to work on my EDS. I also preach part-time, so sometimes I'm working on that too. I will say that I try to just keep my school time here at school and Sunday night. It's not always possible. Like right now is evaluation time. So this is one time during the month of February where we're constantly working because we're trying to get all these evaluations done before the March 1st deadline. So I know that this is a busier time and it's not always possible but for the most part, I try to stick to that schedule of finishing everything here, staying to 5:15, 5:30, and then keeping my Friday night and Saturday night free always, because nothing is going to replace your family and your own time to keep yourself well. And then just trying new things. Definitely, I try to encourage my teachers to have that kind of same philosophy when they go home, that they don't have to be on. I used to be that principal that would send emails at 7:30, 8:30, 9:30 at night. Totally stopped doing that. If I want to send something because I have it on my mind, I will, do the schedule send for the next morning. So it's not interfering. You can schedule send text messages now. So I schedule send text messages too. So those are just practical strategies. So I'm not interfering with my teachers. I find it more that I have to pay attention to, am I interfering with my teachers' outside life? And I want to pay attention to that because they already do it too much.
Ugh, so good reminders of those little things like scheduling, texts, and emails. I mean, those are just simple little tweaks. You can still do it on your own time when you want to, but making sure you're not interacting with anyone else at a time that you wouldn't want them interacting with you. I really love those reminders. I will say I'd love to dig in a little bit more on your Sunday routine, because I too have found that while so many educators in our community have communicated to me that they have Sunday scaries, or that they don't like to be thinking about work on Sundays. You do you. I like a little bit of work on Sunday because it does help my stress level throughout the week. It's a part of something that makes me feel better. And I don't want to feel badly for working on a day that other people don't want to work. Don't work if you don't want to work. But for me, it actually does make my week go a little bit easier. How do you add enough parameters that you can get what you need done, but can also walk away and still get whatever is left of the Sunday?
I think, I make that flexible. I definitely, the first half of the day, I'm not doing anything related to school because I'm actually preaching. So that part is about going to church, spending time with family. And then in the direct afternoon from that too, it's still about spending time with family right around 5 o'clock, between about 5 to 7. Then I'm going to check, go through my emails, look at the schedule for the subs for the week, look at the meetings that I have planned for the week, anything that I have to have done. And then I'll do it from that time. But I will be more flexible with myself. I don't just tie myself down to it. So from about 5 to 7, I do that. I love to stop around that time so then I could, finish the day either with family or reading, just choice things then. And I think that has worked pretty well for me. I'm like you. I can't go into the week not having done a little, because then I will start the week and I'll be overly stressed. And no one wants to start the week overly stressed. You want to have kind of a good idea of what it is. So.
Yeah, I do this a very, very similar structure to you, although I do my work at like 1. So I'll do what I need in the morning on Sunday. I'll say 1 o'clock. Okay, I'm going to take whatever time I need. And then I spend the evening. So similar, but like I've just moved my time block. But that you're right, that you're being flexible with the time. You're doing just kind of what you need to do to not be stressed about Monday. You know already what's coming. You're already prepared for whatever needs to be prepped. But yeah, like this last Sunday, I worked at Starbucks from 1 until, 2 or 3, and just got enough done that I'm like, I'm kind of excited about the week. There's some new projects I'm working on. There's some great conversations I get to have. I have some travel I get to do. It just does enough to like transition my mindset a bit, I think.
Yes. And, I don't want to not be ready for Monday. But I also don't want, all of Sunday taken up with work the whole day. It has to be a good balance. So usually it's about 2 hours. It's just 5 to 7, but 2 hours is good enough to get me ready for the week.
Yeah, I love that. If you're listening, we'd love to hear about what your solution is to that. And if you're very much like, I only work on Mondays and Fridays, that's great. Maybe you choose to go in early, use your plan time differently, choose to stay a little late. There's a lot to be able to do. I know for some reason, I know I feel weird saying it, but I kind of like a little Sunday fix so that I'm ready moving forward. One thing I'd love to do is take some questions from our community, which we have here. Are you up to brainstorm on some things that our community has thrown our way?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back. Before we wrap up, if you're not subscribed to the Sustainable Teaching Substack, you're missing out. Every Friday, you'll get an episode plus a free download resource. Subscribe for free over at our Substack. And if you have any questions you want answered in a future episode, drop them over at teachersdeserveit.com by direct messaging the team or emailing Olivia at teachersdeserveit.com. I'm always excited about the questions that are pulled for each episode. I have 2 questions here, and I have to say, These are really good. I'm excited to hear what your thoughts are. If you're listening and you also want to submit questions, please do. Just get it to somebody on our team. We'll make it into the pod. I think you're going to have some good suggestions for this. And again, we're not promising we have all the answers, but we absolutely will do our best to problem solve. So this one is kind of being about voluntold. So it says, I keep getting voluntold for things, covering classes, serving on committees, mentoring new teachers. I never actually say yes, but somehow I'm always doing it. How do I stop being the person everyone dumps extra work on? What are your thoughts there?
Well, you don't want to stop being the person that they're looking to, because that's there for a reason. That means they can trust you. They know that you're going to do a great job. But you just have to know your limitations. Like if it's too much for you, you have to be willing to say, I can't take that on right now. And is there another way that I can help out right now? Because I can't just possibly add one more thing to my plate right now. I think those are things that aren't really seen in education a lot, especially for educators who want to please, who are working really hard. But then they tend to be the people that, principals like to go, rely on. So we definitely have to be more mindful to hear and be confident enough to say to individuals, that's too much for me right now. And if there's another way I can help, I would be glad to, but right now I can't take on another thing.
I think that, we always say clear is kind, and being clear is so important to be able to be like, I just can't take that on. But I like your connection to, it's not that you want to possibly stop being a supportive person. You just can't always maybe be the one taking on the task, right? So something that comes up doesn't mean you can't say, while I can't take that on, I have some insight I can share, or I have some questions that might be worth adding to the table, or, I'd be more than happy to sit down and discuss how to approach this. I don't really have time to take this on, but whoever does take it on, maybe, I'd be happy to sit down with them for 15 minutes and lend my opinion, right? That you're kind of offering a different solution, but you're still looking to be helpful, which I really appreciate that you shared that. That's important. I don't want to be somebody that isn't a trustworthy, collaborative colleague. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think, to be able to be asked that, it should be, I don't think flattering, because that's not the right word, but it shows that they have a respect for you. And you want them to be able to continue to do that. But also, anything that you take on, you want to be able to do it well. And if you can't take it on and do it well, then, being able to communicate that, hey, if I took this on, I would want to do it to my best ability. And I just don't think I can do that right now because I have X, Y, and Z on my plate. And I love your Brene Brown quote of clear is kind. That is awesome.
I love that. And it's so true. I have to remind myself of it sometimes when I get stressed about what someone's going to think, or, am I doing enough? And I'm like, no, clear is kind. It's a great, simple reminder that sometimes it's really good to pull out of the back pocket and give yourself the permission. I like that. That's so good. All right. We got another one here. This one's tricky. So I'm glad, again, that this person wrote in. If anyone's going through anything, we love your questions. This one's great. We didn't want to wait on this one. This one just was submitted, it looks like this week. It says, one of my students is going through some really hard things. I don't want to detail it too much, but instability, stuff no kid should really deal with. I care so much and I carry it home with me. How do you support students when they're experiencing heavy stuff without absorbing all of it yourself?
Oh, that's a hard one.
It's so hard, so hard.
Because we live often through the lives of our students, because we feel what they feel. We experience what they experience, especially if you're the person that they're connecting with and sharing. Sure. So I don't think there's a way that you can ignore that. It's how you deal with that stress, I think, is probably the most important. Being able to connect with, having a person to share with. You have to have a person to lean on, to be able to share with. when I had a particular student who, went through some really, really rough times, I'll be honest with you, I needed help to get through it. And the first person I called was Dr. Orzel, and she helped me get through it. And I wasn't even working with her then, but she set me up with the right people to deal with the situation and to make sure that I did things the right way. And she just, not talk sense into me. She really just helped me, facilitated me. So you have to have a person. And sometimes that person is, my significant other at home. And sometimes it is a professional colleague. And I know the difference of when I need one or the other. Because if I need help dealing with the situation and navigating it and helping a student through, then it's probably going to be a professional colleague. If I just need someone to talk with and share with, then it's going to be my significant other. And I think just know those. But those aren't going to go away, because this is why we got into the jobs that we got into in the first place.
Yeah, I think there's two really important takeaways you highlighted. One is that dealing with the stress of it is the stress you're dealing with is what you need to seek support for. Because we do get into this space to help students with the best moments and some of the worst. And I love that any student that's able to lean on a teacher, I mean, gosh, we want to value that trust as much as possible, and acknowledging that then you might need someone to lean on as you support the student is so human. Like, it's so appropriate. And then your acknowledgement that you might have different outlets depending on what you need. So it could be one situation, but sometimes you just need someone to listen and care for you, versus other times you need more guidance. And, there's even more beyond that as we think about the circles we keep. I mean, you've mentioned your passion for preaching and the church. That might be something at some points we lean into. So I think an awareness as an adult educator to say, I kind of need to fill my bubble with the people that can support me in a variety of ways, and then lean into them when appropriate, whether it's a personal quote unquote problem or a problem that's come about because I'm supporting something in my work's life is such a great, I love that suggestion you have. That's so powerful.
And if you have a principal who is good, and that principal is going to care about the people in his building or the people in her building, they're going to make sure they take care of you. So I will say, don't be afraid to develop relationships with your administrators, teachers, because it really can be, a lifesaver for you, because they understand more than you think. They'll work with you and support you through difficult times, whether it's personal or with students. Having that kind of relationship is important. That's the reason I became a principal or an administrator, because I knew I could still help kids and I could also help adults. Otherwise, I would have just stayed with the kids. So I wanted to be able to do both.
Yeah, no one goes into a leadership role like that and doesn't want the best for their staff. That is a really important reminder. Stick with us as we wrap up this conversation. I want to make sure you have opportunities to connect with our guests on the pod. And of course, reminder that our blog this week will, of course, have a free resource for any of you interested in utilizing anything we've discussed even further. So we'll be right back. Sustainable Teaching is brought to you by Teachers Deserve It, the professional development company built on one belief: teaching shouldn't cost you your weekends, your health, or your love for this work. Learn more at teachersdeserveit.com. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I love being able to catch up with you, and I'm so appreciative of the insight that you were able to share with our Sustainable Teaching podcast community. Johnny, if anybody wants to connect with you further, either to pick your brain or continue learning from you, what's the best way for them to connect?
I would say through Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it, but it's at Johnny B School, which is my tag there. But definitely connect with me. I love, just touching base and learning from others, as well as helping others out as well. It's just a passion that I have, and hopefully I can continue to change the lives of the kids I work with, but also the adults. So if anybody wants to connect, that would be the way to go.
Amazing. If anyone ever has any struggles connecting with somebody on our podcast, feel free to reach out to somebody on the team. We'll get you connected. So easy peasy. Johnny, thank you again for coming on the podcast. I really, really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, so thank you so much for sharing your insight here.
Thanks, Rae.
Sustainable teaching.